Welcome to Media Makers Spotlight from Women in Film and Video in Washington, D.C. We bring you conversations with industry professionals for behind the screens, insight, and inspiration.
Welcome to Media Maker Spotlight. I'm your host, Sandra Abrams, and in this episode, I'm talking to Craig Downing, the director of a new documentary, Dad Jeans, and Sara Barger, the editor of the film. The doc follows Aaron Long, who many years ago, about 20, was a sperm donor for money. Fast forward to a few years ago, he's living as a single person, taking care of his mother, when several of his kids decide to go looking for him and learn more about who is their biological father. And there's a lot of twists and turns when this happens. Before we learn more about the film, a little bit about my guest. I understand from the Seattle University website, Craig is an adjunct professor, and he was also the director of the film department at Iceland Saga Films. And he's been involved in filmmaking in various countries, even teaching film in Nepal. Dad Jeans is his directorial debut. For Sara, she's an award-winning filmmaker, editor, and educator. She's also past president of Women in Film and Video. This is her second time on the WIFV podcast, as she was our first guest when we started. And a little known fact about Sara, she is the voice of our podcast when you hear...
Quiet on the set!
So welcome, Craig and Sara, and congratulations on the film and its recent premiere.
Well, thanks. Well, most of that, congratulations, Sara. Thanks for helping us get across this finish line. There was a lot of footage and just helping us guide that with our, our ideas and clips and scenes. But we were just kind of spinning, and it was really great that Sara's vision and approach just helped us get this film where we're at. So thank you, Sara.
Thanks, Craig. It was a fun film to work on.
Yeah, I would agree.
Speaking of Sara helping you get it over the finish line, I guess, first asking Craig, how did you get involved? And then to Sara, at what point did you get involved? And how much of that film did you have to go through and say, oh, this is a mess, I need to start editing?
Well, we can stop the interview here.
No. But this is your directorial debut. So there must have been something about this film that you said, yes, this is where I want to start my directing career. So what was it about it?
Well, I didn't know. So I do mostly shorts. I do commercials, music videos, quirky little weird shorts. And Matt Isaac, who was the producer, was actually living in the same co-op, the hippie co-op that Aaron was living in. And they were doing a talent show. And no one in the co-op of 30, 40 people knew that Aaron had donated sperm. And they didn't know that he had connected with some of the kids. And so during the talent show, people were juggling and drawing and playing the flute. And then Aaron decides to announce this new information by creating a PowerPoint.
A PowerPoint for a talent show?
But
a PowerPoint for a hippie commune.
Yeah, exactly. None of it makes sense. None of it makes any sense. Right. So he made this PowerPoint and delivered it. And Matt was in the audience because he was living there. And he's like, well, this is pretty weird and interesting. So he asked Aaron, would you be interested in being part of a documentary for this? And ironically, Aaron said yes, but I want it to be kind of funny. And so Matt reached out to me because we worked on another organization together. And Matt was like, hey, Craig, do you know any directors that might be interested in this quirky story? And I was like, screw you, Matt. Yeah, I do. And we thought it was a small project. So basically Aaron had connected to some of these kids and was like, oh, it'd be weird and fun because I've never been married and I've never had any kids or been in any, weddings. Why don't I throw a big party and invite all my kids, my donor kids, over to meet us and meet me? So he threw a party called Meet My Kids and walked around with a t-shirt that said, I make beautiful children. Yes. And so we thought we were just filming, what a quirky weekend. Wow, this will be silly fun. I'll get back to teaching my regular life. And this totally won't go on for 8 years.
8 years? The filming went on for 8 years.
Yeah, wow. It's been a while. Well,
No, it's been 8 years since you started filming.
Correct.
But you filmed for what, a year and a half about?
Yeah, so that's correct. Not as long, but the project went on and on and on. So we were filming and, just some things were happening at the party. I was like, Matt, this is not going to be a weekend thing. There is so many more stories here. Like, batten down the hatches, my friend. It's going to get weird. And so that's how I came on board. And we had no idea where it was going to go. Because if you think about it, there's really no playbook for what do you do when you're filming a donor dad meeting their donor kids and maybe starting a weird donor family. There's no playbook. And we had no idea how that timeline would go. And so that's just kind of where it started and how it went.
Which is pretty much how documentaries go in general. Unless you're telling a story that's already happened.
Yeah.
You're filming until the story ends and it's life. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Did I mention I do documentary filmmaking?
You can't plan for that. You can't storyboard that.
No, you can't tell them what to say or do. You just kind of have to sit there and just let it roll out. So.
Well, Sarah, at what point did you get involved with this film?
Me and Craig met in grad school. And so he was filming this project while we were in grad school together. So I was watching clips of it as it was happening. And part of me was a little jealous. I'm like, how does this guy who doesn't make documentaries get this story? It just falls in his lap. It's such a good story. I was so jealous.
He's going to mess it up.
No, not that. I was just like, what? He doesn't even want to make this story.
No, I don't do that.
Like that. But I'm not in Seattle and you are. So, and then he had other editors working on it over the course of the film until it got to a point where it was kind of done. There were some scenes that were cut. It was put in an order. It was about, what'd you get it to? Like 80 minutes, maybe?
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, Sarah, we need help. SOS.
Sarah was the SOS.
Yeah, Sarah, oh, Sarah.
Sarah, oh, Sarra. I'm going to say the secret of the sauce. The secret
there
of
the And I was like, all right, I can do this. Let's go. Send me the hard drives. And we kind of started working on it. And Craig had a very specific vision of what he wanted. I did not agree with that.
Well, that was going to be one of my follow-up questions. Like, what was that like being the editor? What were there challenges? Were agreements, disagreements? And
well, I said up front, I was like, you have to let me do my job. Like, you've done your job. You filmed. You're also in Seattle. We're not in the same space. Like, I'm going to make this a good film, but you have to trust me and you have to let me do my job. And you did.
Yeah. And we, our vision wasn't that different. We had different approaches, but I would say that we were generally on the same page, and the things we fought about, I think we both saw each other's perspectives. It wasn't like we were coming from left field. And it's funny because some of the things we fought about when we did the world premiere, I had to go tell Sarah, you know what, the thing you fought for, it kind of worked. And then Sarah kind of had to say the same thing for the stuff I was fighting for.
Yeah. Yeah, the one scene that I was like, oh, this is dumb, but I'll put it in was the very first laugh we got in the film. I'm like, you were right. Okay. I'm like, whatever. I guess that worked.
It was a great balance. I thought it was a great balance because, as I mentioned, Aaron said that we could do this if it were funny. But then, but actually, I just found out, I'll tell you why it happened. But on the weekend of the party, I was interviewing his friends. And I was just asking ridiculous questions, totally flippant, totally just dumb questions. And they were so dumb that Aaron actually said to Matt, the producer, I don't like necessarily where this direction's going with Craig. He's being too silly and too funny, and it should be more serious. And then strangely, Sarah, I don't know if you knew this, but Aaron just had his birthday party last weekend. He's not seen the movie. And you know what he asked for his birthday?
To watch the movie.
He wanted to watch the movie at his house with all of his friends the first time he's ever seen it after he's never seen any footage, nothing. And it's strange because after he saw it, he liked it. He's very happy with it. He said, yeah, it's strange. I thought it was going to be funnier than this. It's funny, but I wanted it. So I was like, wait, what did you want, Aaron? Which is not his decision. But I thought it was a great balance between Sarah's sense of humor and sense of storytelling, my sense of humor, my sense of storytelling. So it's a nice balance. It's a human story, but it's, because there's humans in it, it's going to be silly and human and vulnerable and whimsical, but it's also about relationships. So it can't just be funny.
Yes, and that's the thing about the relationship, because at some point there are the mothers that are involved in this situation, especially the couple in Richmond, and they did not seem very happy. So there was a lot of tension in that situation.
Perfect.
So at any one point, when you were filming, how did you handle filming the tension, if at all? Or did anybody say to you, I'm not interested in participating and don't film me? Like, how did that work out? Because they're saying, here's this guy, he's just the sperm donor. He didn't raise them. And now he's trying to get this, I'm the cool dad kind of thing.
Well, not only that, but if you think about it, like, we're these moms, we did all this work with this daughter. And not only are you highlighting this like dude that just donated sperm, but now you've got like a male producer in my house and a male director. Like, why are they telling the story and how do they get it? And I think that's a fair point. And so, I mean, we spent a lot of time with them. We went to Richmond, but like, we didn't start filming right away. Like, I wanted to talk to them, let them know, like, hey, I'm just here to tell your story. And if you're comfortable, great. If not, we'll figure it out. And so they were just really transparent. And I think the tension that you're seeing was just because they're feeling comfortable sharing their true thoughts. And I think Amber was a little more hesitant. And Tina was like, well, I'm hesitant. But then she says in the movie, like, this is what Maddie wants. And so I'm going to do what Maddie wants and I'm going to support that. And also the complicatedness where, like, in the movie, they say, like, I'm not sure about Aaron. He wears that shirt that says, I make beautiful babies. But then Tina says, but also when Maddie is walking home at night and she feels unsafe, Aaron goes and walks her home. And then Amber's like, that makes me feel a little bit better, but I still want to get to know him, which is fair. And so to answer your question, like, everyone's got layers. And I think the story shows that, their tension and their concerns. And so my approach was just to, like, let them have their tension and let them share amongst themselves how they're feeling so that it could be a transparent and honest movie about what was happening. Because again, there's no playbook and I wanted people to feel safe and honest and real about what they're sharing so that other people could resonate with what was happening. So we just kind of let them say what they wanted to say. And no one really said, I don't want to be in this. There was a couple scenes where people were like, oh, I don't know if we want the camera in here. For example, oh my God, I don't know if you know this, Sarah, this kills me. But when Aaron went to go meet Maddie's parents, Maddie invited Aaron, so Maddie, 21 years old, invited Aaron to go to a house party with all her other 20-year-old friends as her donor dad. And they were like, you can't film this. And I was like, okay, I'll film around if there's drinking or drugs or boyfriends or weird, bad music. But like, the shot of Aaron in that house party, I'm still so mad. But that's the only time that they were like, even with like Aaron's mom going through some stuff, I could see that being a really, not a time for camera. That's a personal moment. But Aaron was like, hey, just so you know this is happening, do you want to come over? And I was like, if you're okay with this, Aaron, I'd like to honor this moment and be there, but it's your call. And he was like, yeah, you should come over. And so that's the gamut range for your question there.
I love those scenes where you were showing with his mom, because I thought everybody can relate to that. Of people going through, of taking care, either having your parent at home or putting your parent into a nursing home. Those are major life decisions. So when you get back and talking about the film, that it's about relationships, that is definitely so true. And I thought that was done very well. So one of the things I wanted to talk about as the story is unfolding. So you were there in Seattle. But you're like going to the East Coast, you're going to the West Coast. How did the funding work for you in this situation?
Matt had some initial investment and some support. But I don't know. I was just focusing on the story and working with the great editor, Sarah. So that would mostly, and I think Matt, with a producer, was producing it partly himself and funding it, but also had some small funding himself through other connections. But I wouldn't know all the details on that.
Well, as long as you could focus on the filming, that's great.
Yeah. As long as Sarah gets paid, I'm happy too, which I think we're good.
Same.
That's right. So
now we're trying to get you guys paid. So let's get this movie sold.
Yeah.
So Sarah, so you say to Craig, let me do my job. Well, how do you do your job, when it comes to editing? Like, do you have a process? Do you have a system?
I'm a night owl, so I like have to clear my schedule and know that, like, all right, this is what we're doing. It's going to be like a 12-hour edit session. I'm going to be up till 4 a.m. And this is like an edit. I like carve out these chunks of time. I mean, the hardest thing is going through everything because I wasn't there filming. They had a cut, so I was familiar with the footage, but then going back and finding all these moments that were maybe missed in the first cut, right? Or, pouring through the transcript and it's still listening. You still have to listen to everything, right? And listening for these moments. One of my favorite little edit tricks that I did in the very beginning when we're going back and forth between Bryce and his mom. Bryce asked some question well, who is my dad? And his mom laughs and is like, that's a good question. Obviously, that was a response to something else that Craig asked her, right? It wasn't who's the dad, but finding those tiny little moments that maybe won't even be in a transcript, right? You actually have to listen to hear for those bites. You're going through it over and over and over and over and over again to get everything perfect and moving it around and finding those moments and how are you going to put it together and what is the story here. Nina Seavey, who used to run the doc center at GW.
Yeah, she was just at DC Scripts, and I sat in on one of her classes that she did for DC Scripts about filmmaking.
Yeah, I had the privilege of teaching the last semester of the doc center before she retired. I was her assistant. So I got paid to basically go to one of her classes, which is great. And she's like, there's 2 stories that can be told, and that's it. It's a stranger comes to town and a boy goes home. And every single story comes down to one of those stories. And so I kind of stole this and then I used it in my teaching. So you have to figure out what story are you telling. In this scenario, it's a stranger comes to town, right? It's there's these kids and there's his dad and now these kids show up, and then it's following this hero's journey and what happens along the way and what are the plot points. I like pointing out, using Shrek as a really good example of a really good 3-act structure, right? Because there's all these plot points. So what's Shrek? It's a stranger comes to town, right? These animals, the fairy tale creatures come to Shrek's swamp and he wants them to leave. So what does he have to do to get them to leave? He has to kidnap Princess Fiona and bring him to the king. So what happens along the way? And there's all these great plot points that happen along the way that make the story interesting. And the thing with docs that people try to do is you can only tell one story at a time, period. And it's life. There's so much, you have so many hours of footage that you can go all these different directions. There's so many other stories we could have told, but you have to figure out what's the story you're telling and you have to stick to that. And everything in your story has to advance this narrative. So, yeah, we were kind of telling a love story of sorts.
In reverse.
Well,
at the end. Yeah.
That's the big twist right there. Who knew that particular situation would happen? But I won't give that away. But you also, not only did we worked together at the military health system, and you were the lead for the visual information team. But, I read in your bio that, you were produced, wrote, and shot documentaries in both English and Arabic. With the USAID program that was based in Baghdad. That was an amazing experience. And then also you just did political with Governor Abigail Spanberger. So was working on this similar to those, or, how was that different for you?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all storytelling, right? And it's how much time do you have to tell a story and what point are you trying to drive home? So this is, feature docs are great because you get all this time to really sit and tell a story. And luckily I really like cinema verite filmmaking. It's a lot harder. It takes a lot more time. No one cares anymore. No one appreciates it. They just want the good story, right? Someone needs to die. There needs to be a murder. If there's not that, no one cares anymore. But it's really nice not having a story that wasn't just talking heads. That had these scenes. You just got to sit with these people and watch their lives happen, and which is very different than any advertising scripted. The stuff I was doing before was very much mission driven, right? I'm teaching you about this specific topic, and this was more about learning about these kids. Most of us probably have an idea of who our parents are. Right? So this idea of being lost and trying to figure out who you are and what happens along the way, this is really Bryce and the kids' stories more than it is Aaron's. And like the parents and Aaron are kind of like these, you know, big parts of the story. But at the end of the day, it's really more about finding yourself and finding your way. Like the saddest moment of the whole film, I think, is when he's talking about his mom and how she always wanted to have grandkids. And now there's finally these grandkids and she can't understand what's going on. And that was like, oh, it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, heartbreaking. No.
But it's also something that all of us can probably relate to. I mean, I've had grandparents with dementia and Alzheimer's, and I think almost everyone has someone they know who's gone through that experience.
Right. Yeah, that's why I think, you know, getting that picture in there and, you know, just at least just meeting somebody, right? Even if it's a short time period. And that's so true.
Yeah. But then life goes on, right? Because it's life. Right. So someone's going to die in every documentary. Someone's going to die. Someone's going to be born. There's probably going to be a pet somewhere.
Oh, no, don't say that. Don't say that. All right. Well, let's talk about, so you had the world premiere at New York City's Dances with Films Festival. And I remember I was emailing you, Sarah, and I was like, well, what are you going to wear to the premiere? You know? Like, I know it was a very exciting moment, but I was like focused. What's the wardrobe?
I was very focused on what I'm going to wear. I think I asked the boys 7 times. They're like, Sarah, we're just wearing like suits.
Yeah. Once I wear a button-up shirt.
Yeah, and I think, Craig, we have a picture that Sarah sent over from that evening with the poster, and I think you had the hat on or something.
Yeah, it's my go-to. It's my go-to. It's part of my uniform.
As you do now. So, but what was that experience like? This was your directorial debut. And it's not just any city, it's New York City. So tell us about that. What was that experience like?
Well, it was exciting because, like, you know, Sarah and I had worked so long on this. We're kind of in the cave. We were just, you know, wow, we had a feeling of the story, and we thought we had a good film and a good story and some moments and some real heart-touching spots. We're like, but like, you know, maybe were we biased? So it's like going into a theater, you know, that's packed, and you're like, wow, gosh, like, I hope they like this film, or I hope it resonates. Is this going to just flop and be a dud? And I was just like stuck in the cave and was just looking at my own self during this movie. But no, it was great. Like, people laughed when we thought they were going to laugh. They laughed when we didn't think they were going to laugh. They got quiet and reflected during parts that I think are, you know, different cadence. And so, and the general response was what we wanted. People were saying like, wow, this is like, I felt a lot of feelings. And I went on a kind of a little bit of a ride. It wasn't a clickbait news piece. Like, it really, as Sarah was saying, you got to sit and soak with the characters. And it's not just your classic, like, ooh, wow, like who stabbed the, you know, Professor Plum in the library with a candlestick. Like, it was like real stuff. It's just a different kind of context, but it's just real humans being real humans. And so just seeing other people resonate and get the story we told was great. And that was awesome for me. And so, and it's just kind of funny because, like, and I'm going to have to like deal with this, is that after the movie, there's a line of like 5 white dudes that want to tell me about how they donate sperm in their 20s, which is like cool, but that's not really the story.
Oh, so is this like really? You know, is this, you could do probably a TV series now. It's called
I don't want to be the face. I don't want to be that brand. It's a story about relationships, not just about what people did in their 20s. So, but people talked about just how, like, you know, oh, this reminded me about like, oh, I don't know who my dad is, or like, this reminds me of, people have similar stories, and to have people see that on a screen that kind of helps give a voice to what they're hearing or experiencing or knowing was just a great, you know, touch for us. I mean, just to see people that enjoyed the story that we wanted to tell the way we wanted to tell was just great. I was really grateful for people to be there and to be part of that story with us. And it went well. Like, it was received well. I was proud of our team, and I was just excited that people enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it looks good.
I say that, but I would say 30 times during the movie, Sarah and I would give each other quick looks. Oh, we might want to change that. Oh, that was good. Oh, what about that?
No, like three times. It
wasn't that. Like director, editor glances like, oh, that was interesting.
I was like, wow, it looks good. It sounds good. And it's funny. You don't get a lot of funny docs. So I'm like, normally I try to go to watch as many of the other feature-length docs as I could that were screening. And I was like, wow, we are in good company. If we got programmed with these other films, okay, then we have a good film. Great.
Yep.
That's how you get a little bit of perspective, is who else got in. And they were all fantastic. And it was fun. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I love film festivals and I love being and watching a bunch of movies that other people made and they're in the
I
theater.
get this pass to go to see all the other movies for free. No, it's just
Even better, free pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as opposed to seeing something, a feature film at the Alamo that like when people are in the theater who made the film, like you want to react, you want to applaud when it's over, you want to laugh a little bit louder because
it's real.
You have a real audience of people who it's going to mean something to.
Yeah, they're invested in it. Everyone's there as an investment to the story, and it's exciting. So to be honest there, I don't know, it was more nerve-wracking, the New York one or doing the personal film fest for Aaron with all his friends in his house where he'd never seen the movie. Like that for me was way more stressful.
Yeah, for sure, I bet.
Were you watching his face, as he was watching?
I was too afraid. I just stood in the back, just like, so when there's a table full of snacks, I ate the entire table of snacks. I was just like comfort eating, like, oh my God, what are people like this movie? Oh my God, did Aaron laugh? Is he looking at me? Is he mad? Oh, come on, eat. So, but they loved it. And it was, they said small things, but like, they were like, there's a scene where like, they did the game where they're like, they have to turn the paddle, yes or no. Like, do you like pickles? Do you like cats, dogs? And the only thing Aaron said was, oh, I'd really hope the scene where you asked me if we believe in God and we all said no. I was really hoping that was in the movie. I was like, that's your only comment, Aaron? I think we're good.
I don't even remember seeing that bite.
I don't either. I don't remember filming that. So I'm like, okay, I'll look into that footage, Aaron. But I don't think we filmed that part.
So I still haven't even met Aaron. So I have spent all of this time with all of these people, like in my living room, right? Very one-on-one. They have no idea who I am.
Wow.
And I need to keep that in mind because too many times I've like seen someone and gone up to them and been like, oh my God, da, 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 da. And then they have this look of like very confused on their face. And I realize, oh, right. They don't know who I am. Okay.
I'm the shadow government behind this film that got it together and they don't know it. Yeah, that's Sarah.
The secret storyteller.
Yeah, exactly. Story whisperer.
Speaking of film festivals, I read that you're going to the International Documentary Festival in Greece. I cannot say the name; it's some long name. But
oh my God, I was hoping you'd say it, so I know how to say it.
Are you going to Greece?
Yes. Oh, definitely. Like we were to be honest, like Matt was like, "Wow, I'm very excited and surprised we got in this film festival. This is a big deal." And I was like, "Yeah, I just went to a Seattle screening last night." And it was just exciting. People were like, oh, Craig, I heard your film got in this film festival. I was like, wow, okay, great. I've never heard of this film festival, but it's pretty impressive. So I'm very excited to go. Matt's going to be there with us. We've got a Saturday night opening night screening on 8 o'clock. So we're very excited about that. And, they've been a great festival. Days with the Films was great, but everyone's been super supportive. I'm going to
we just got into one more.
Atlanta Film Festival.
When is that one that you're going to?
That one's in mid-March. That one's coming up.
Okay.
Actually,
all right.
Strangely, ironically, Aaron's in Atlanta the same weekend, just coincidentally, on some panel talking about like donors and adoption and similar stories. And then just totally independently at the same weekend, the film is been accepted in Atlanta while he's there. So he's going to go over with Matt and be there for the screening.
Oh, I might try to hop down for that too.
You should go. It'd be great. Then you can meet Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be there.
No, that sounds like a great Q&A after the film. What's next for either one of you? As far as, are you working on another film or TV show, or what are you working on next?
What are you working on, Sarah?
I just started editing my now second feature doc on the Free DC movement. So I was another cameraman, producer who's filmed for about a year. We have about 50 hours of footage. And it starts so for those who don't know, there's 800,000 people who live in DC. We do not have representation in Congress. We are not in control of our budget. A bunch of people who do not live here, we did not vote for, have a final say on our budget, even though it is all from DC taxpayer dollars. And last year, when the current administration was trying to screw with liberal cities, like they are still doing, they decided to slash $1 billion from our operating budget, money that had already been allocated and approved and it didn't affect any federal spending whatsoever. So all these different organizations all over the city, like the queer advocates and the civil rights advocates and the teachers who got laid off and the Jewish groups, all had now a common thing that bound them, which is funding, money. So they were going all of like door to door in Congress, trying to not get our budget slashed, trying to get a referendum added onto the budget. It all was going on with that budget bill, which, what are we in our third shutdown now because they still can't get the budget passed? So something that started as a short that they thought was going to be, all right, we're going to film, they're going to vote on this, it's going to be over. Did not happen because it's a documentary.
Right? And twist and
No
turn.
one dies. No one dies, Sarah. No one should die.
But it's a very quick turnaround. We're hoping to get it finished editing by the end of June so we can apply for the fall film festivals so that we can be out before people go to vote.
Right. And
So
Craig,
taxation without representation, like that's classic. Like it makes it obvious.
Mm-hmm.
so, Craig, so this is your directorial debut. Now that it's over, are you ready to direct another film?
Oh, I love it. I love telling weird stories. And Matt was like, so like, what do you want to do next? And I was like, ooh, I got a call back. You don't like, you like working with me, Matt, you suck up.
I got a call back.
So we got a couple stories that, we've been talking about, but I think we're just going to like enjoy the ride with Dad Jeans for right now. And then once that's settled, we're like, okay, like, which one of these weird stories with quirky characters of, in America do we want to follow? And which one would give us access? Matt keeps saying, okay, this one was like, I paid for a fair amount of it. It's been like 8 years. So the next one has to be cheap, easy, and fast. And I was like, Matt, sit down. Like, I have bad news for you. It's a documentary. It's not going to be any of those. So, but we'll see. I think we're just enjoying that people are enjoying the film and it's doing well in festivals. And I think that's going to help us, give us some momentum before of the couple stories we're talking about where we want to go next.
Ooh. Well, do I get a call back too?
Of course. The team. But it's moreover, if so, but I promise Sarah that I will give you better synced and organized footage this time.
We have this recorded. We have this, we have this on tape now. Well, speaking of going, with this film, where can people learn more about your film?
Is it dadjeansmovie.com, right? I should
dadjeansmovie.com.
Yeah, that's where we'll show where we're screening, what our updates are. If it gets on, when and if it gets online for streaming, where people can watch it. Maybe it's a film festival in their neighborhood, in their city. We'll put all that and post all of that there.
Well, thank you, Sarah, our past president of WIFV and successful filmmaker. We're so excited for you and that you could come back and be on Media Maker Spotlight. And Craig, thank you for taking the time to chat with us. We appreciate it so much.
Thanks for connecting us. This is a really fun time hanging out with everybody. So this is really fun. Thanks, Sandra.
All right. Best of luck to you with the film.
All right. Bye, team. That was really fun.
Thanks for listening to Media Maker Spotlight from Women in Film and Video. To learn more about WIFV, visit WIF as in Frank, V as in Victor.org. This podcast is produced by Sandra Abrams, Candace Block, Brandon Ferry, Tara Jabari, and Jerry Reinhardt, and edited by Michelle Kim, with audio production and mix by Steve Lack Audio and Ed Saltzman. Subscribe to continue learning from more amazing media makers. Please visit MediaMakerSpotlight.com for more information.